All right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. See you
Yes.
again. It's so nice to have you with me every day. Energetically in the first language as well as here, virtually.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
speaking from the room where you were there. So your presence is always here.
Absolutely. And who and what are we connecting with first in our lives, right? And
Yes,
do we recognize when we're disconnected?
yes,
And when we recognize when we're disconnected, we recognize when others are disconnecting. So we can actually invite the reconnection
yes,
to ourselves and to other people, and so that
yes,
we can establish true connection. Yeah. And those
yes.
four phases of the seven steps. Yes.
Yes,
But,
definitely.
but
It typically literally happened in this world, isn't it? We connected, then we disconnected yesterday, now we reconnected back again.
And like I say, you can never get you wrong. So don't feel like, oh, I'm disconnected. I'm not doing good. No, no, no. There's no coincidences. So
Yes,
when we are disconnecting, perhaps there's something knocking on our door that we have
yes,
not opened. So really recognizing what is unique about you and how it shows up for you actually is something that invites you to communicate with yourself, with your body, with others, and with the world in a very different way. Yeah.
yes, yes. So
Simple,
speaking
easy, and profound. Seven steps.
seven, definitely. That's what we're talking about, everybody. So we're taking it further from we had a small conversation yesterday on Instagram and taking it further to from here to we will go to a 7 week elongated discussion on 7 steps to flawless communication, which is based on a book which is right here by the great author Kass Thomas. She's a certified facilitator of access consciousness. She conducts a lot of classes of access consciousness worldwide. She's a speaker, and these are just a few things that I can tell you about, and there is more, and then the Zoom will go into it. So coming back to our 7 steps. So it all started with a small idea of like reading this book, and this book is essentially like a workbook or a journal. And I personally thought that I should be doing this every day, um, as a New Year's practice, not a resolution, but a practice, a new practice to adapt this year. And I've been reading at least a page every day on and off, maybe sometimes. And it has been such a big contribution. And I thought, let's extend this magic to all of you. And that's why I have here Cass, and Cass has agreed to do it with me for 7 weeks so that I can get started into not going on and off and make it a way of life. So, Cass, first of all, I would ask you this question. What do you think about journaling? What is journaling to you?
Yes. Well, when you say journaling, right, you
Yeah.
mean actually with a flow. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, with yourself, because I was a journalist.
Were you? Wow, that's a new information. Like,
That
see,
was, yes,
yeah,
my actually my first degree in college about journalism, and a lot of times people want you to choose something specific rather than actually communicating in different ways. I really wanted to just study French. But my dad told me, don't, what are you, just French to discuss with people in French? No, get another degree. So I did do that journalism degree. And I had my second degree as French and traveling to Paris for my third year abroad. And, journaling, what is it that shows up for you in your life that perhaps you disregard, you do not follow up with? However, if you're willing to reconnect, right, with who and what you are and what has shown up in your life, it will expand your zone, which is one of the steps of the seven steps. You can find the book will give you. the printed book, the the audio book, the ebook. You can get all of that. And so journaling is really continuing to keep your flow going, really. And some of the things, this is just, you know, telling you this, when I was in the third grade, 8 years old, there was someone in Boston, the United States, writing every morning on this, you know, stage, writing every morning, good morning, today is Monday, in French. And we were in, you know, Roxbury in the United States. It was not, you know, necessarily an international place. But journaling, at the end of that year, I had said to myself, my body had said to me, one day you must go to France and learn and speak French. And I did disconnect from that because of my dad telling me, you know, don't do that, etc. But when I went to college in New York, my girlfriend said, hey, we could go for a third year in Paris of our studies. That's probably why we're connected now.
And
Because
there are no coincidences, like you say. I got a client who could speak only French and Arabic yesterday. So I actually had to learn the numbers yesterday from her again to tell her the reps of the Pilates. So we were doing Andhra yesterday, and there are no coincidences. That's what I was talking to you about, that these things, like, somewhere I also get into, oh, does this make sense? But I've also like gone into writing them down back again, because I when as a kid I used to feel like I'm not able to share what my emotions are with the family, or I barely had any friends that I could speak to. So that's when I started writing. Back when I was home 2 years back, I found my old diary, and I had written things saying, writing to my grandmother, because she was the only one who would really listen to me. So although she was not around, but I could like really write to her. And when I was reading that, I was like, oh, that little girl in me knew whatever English she knew. And because English wasn't the first language back then, so she knew how to write, and she could put her thoughts into. Somewhere in between growing up, I lost it. Things happened, I lost writing. And then coming to the modern society where people are finding work life balance, everybody's suggesting let's journal. There are these wonderful 3 question journals, 5 question journals that I recently came across, and I was like, that's a wonderful way of doing it. Now those questions might not fit to everybody, but in Access we have the tool Questions Empower, right? So looking
absolutely.
and going through your book, I saw that it's like a workbook, and we could actually do it together and work on those questions. So tell us more about what a question does.
Well, you know, when you say what a question does, a question actually opens you up. And, you know, in Access Consciousness, we work with a question, with questions. And questions, you don't have to have the answer in a question, from a question. But when you ask a question, and one of the questions I love is, what is the question I can ask that would give me the awareness I've been looking for? And just that question, right? That question alone actually opens you up in that journey that we're talking about, you know, that we are interested in continuing with. So every morning when you wake up, one of the questions that I ask, looking up at the sky and the universe, I ask, that's step number one of the 7 steps. Universe, universe, God, Allah, Buddha, Shiva, angels, Can you show me my magic today? Right? And so it's different when you ask a question. Sometimes people ask questions. Oh, what is the question I need to ask? That's a little different. That's a little different
Yeah.
because it's not really a question. You're making it as if it were a question. However, it's not really a question, right? It's a demand. But asking a question and being willing to receive the various responses that aren't necessarily answers, but they have you going into different ways of approaching life at the moment. So people were talking about the, communication, communicating first with you will allow you to receive communication from you, your body, the world, the planet, the animals, the birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees, and from other people as well. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brought me to thank you for sharing this. It just I used to be I still do it, but I used to have like a full-time job of heading marketing and communication. So we would often get into like how would we communicate this to a consumer? And I was in service industry, I was in healthcare, and not all the news is like the most happy happening news, like a celebrity news, right? It might be that we would have come up with a new machine and a new treatment of colon cancer, and then everybody would be like, who wants to learn about colon and then cancer, and then how do you put it across? And I wish I had heard this before, that communicate it to yourself first. And that brings me so much into awareness that that communication, how I would communicate the same information, even if it is about that particular thing, it would help me crafting the communication on the outside so much more better, if you know what I mean. And wow, it's just wow. I mean, I'm just wowing inside because it's like bursting in me that, oh, awareness. This little bubble.
No, absolutely. I really love that because what are the, there's no wrongness, but those, well, since you've been reading that Seven Steps book, there's a couple of things. We cannot get ourselves wrong, right? And even the former president of South Africa said you can never lose or fail. You either win or you learn something, right? So you cannot get you wrong. It's one of my quotes that I say. There's no one that does you better than you. And there is so much more that unites us than separates us. Those are those quotes in the book. So when something comes up, and we were together for a week a couple of months ago in Dubai, I love that.
Yeah,
And you had so much awareness show up. So how much of that flow, how much of that journal, like,
yeah,
actually invited you to that. And that's what I like to do and be with people. Because for me, no one gets themselves wrong, even if they feel bad or ill or something like that. Being the invitation for people to actually exuberate their presence and their magic and their uniqueness, right? There's so much that we're the same,
yeah,
but that uniqueness that each one is, it will bring you joy
yeah,
to each and every one of us. It brings me joy to meet people, even if we don't speak out loud the same language, even if we're not, from the same country or ever, being in the same country, color, race, nationality, creed, whatever that is. It doesn't, I don't have any detachment. And probably that is why I'm here on planet Earth. And so I'd like for people to at least open up, expand their zone, step number 6, and open up to receive people. My mother she was always engaged with people, you know, just being in Boston, but she did come to Paris to visit me, but always engaged with people with from different, you know, nationalities, creeds. They, you know, even men who were with men or women who were with women, people from you know Saudi Arabia, you know, Arabic, people from Israel, and she would say words as I was a child that I didn't know those words were not English because she never defined it. No.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I moved to New York and I was, you know, talking with people and using, and they said, "How do you know these languages?" And I was like, "What languages?" I said, "What you just said. That's, you know, this language, that language, that language." And I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, you know, you never really told me this was a different language." And she said, "Oh yeah, well, I was working with this person or doing that, etc." And even with art, because she had lots of art in the house. She had lots of different, you know, paintings and stuff like that in the house that she had got. And she never really said, "Oh, this is this author. This is this painter. This is this." She never said that to me. But when I went to New York and I was in college and we went to the various museums and I saw all this stuff that I would see in my house. So my question is, what is it? Who is it that is showing up for you or that has shown up for you in some lifetime or in this lifetime that is actually knocking on your door now? Are you willing to open that door and to see the beauty of your life and why you're here and the gift you can be and receive to the world? Yeah. Do you know,
That's
access consciousness was when I was living in New York, there was a gal, I was working at a hotel. I was the head concierge at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. And I would, you know, bring in this girl to do massages. And years later, when I moved to Italy, I found out that she actually hosted one of the first Access Consciousness classes with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, in New York
wow.
when I
Okay.
was there. So coming here, a friend of mine who was living here and then moved back to the States, she came here and she introduced me to Access. So, you know, Reiki, you know, and what is it that keeps knocking on your door? What language, what consciousness, what spirituality, what angels,
Yeah.
what movement is knocking on your door? It's okay if you do not hear it or see it or open the door up until now, if you have not up until now. But what we would love to be an invitation for you, that communication with you, your body, the world, the planet, and beyond, so that everything that is here waiting for you, you can see.
Yeah.
How does it get? How does it get? How does it get any better than this? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And
Huh.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that, you know, and everyone, a lot of times when they're talking about communication, they're talking about communicating with themselves. No, they're talking about communicating with their children. No, they're talking about communicating with their parents. No, talking about communication. First, communicate with you. Then you can communicate with everyone in a very new way. I even do a specialty class with Access called The Right Voice for You. everyone does things in a very different way. But what I mean by the right voice for you is the vibration of you that comes out with your voice. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's time to delve a little deeper into the book, and I wanted to do a little bit of reading to give a taster of what we're going to get into the 7 weeks. Before we do that, um, let's just introduce to what we are exploring here today, the connection blueprint. So the journey that we want to embark on from February 3rd, very few days left, and I'm so excited. So we've called it the connection blueprint, and we're going to go through the 7 steps to flawless communication book altogether. And there would be 7 guided calls with the author herself, Kass Thomas. And um, we will read it in a bit, so we will get to know how she came to bringing this book to all of us. And it's one of the best-selling books, and it has different, I would say, like in school, we used to have homework. You get homework that you get to work on for 7 weeks. But more so, like she said, it's the communication with you that we are going to be doing for 7 weeks all together, um, coming together, sharing stuff. I think it's like, like how food is enjoyed better together. It everything goes like food, better together.
Oh
So
my goodness. And how much great food did I have at your house?
yes, and not to mention all the mandi and everything that we had around the classes. So it's so much of good food. Yes, Dubai doesn't go without food. Yeah, so evening food, and it's pretty much lunch hour here. And yeah, so coming back from food to working it together. Maybe we can all gather in and have some food too. It's at dinner time from
I would love that. What are you with? Yeah, some amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and with a very small contribution of money, you get 7 weeks, 7 guided calls for 77 euros. And how does it get any better than that, right? So I hope
Absolutely.
we would have more and more people joining in for this, those who are listening to it now and who would listen to it after, and we'd keep coming back with more information on this. So let's get started to a little bit of reading from the book. And the book says, I'm going to show off my author kissed signature here in a bit. The book's title is 7 Steps to Flawless Communication by Kass Thomas, and it says, which is I found it very profound, how to establish true connection with yourself and everyone and everything around you. So it could be even establishing a connection with your Wi-Fi, to establishing a connection with your bed, to the food, to everything, to your pet, to your partner. And of course, it's a 7 step, so it encompasses the 7 steps that she has listed it down. And I'm going to quickly read one of the first few pages, and it starts with on connecting. And I'm going to read it. It's written by Cass, so it's like as if Cass is speaking it. Often I meet people seeking information on how to relate to others with more ease, how to be better partners, employers, or simply how to find more happiness. Yet they themselves are strangely absent from their own lives. They're missing in action, MIA. Well, that time this MIA was still there, yeah? Completely disconnected. So MIA has been there for a long time, is well. Sure, anyone can get temporarily distracted like me, or be momentarily in a fog while daydreaming or something. But most people spend 900% of their time, that's right, 900, somewhere else other than the present moment. And they are certainly not connected to themselves or their bodies. Therefore, the first thing I recommend, Cass recommends to everyone before trying to connect with someone else is to double check that you're connected to you. And the first 2 steps listed in this book helps you to connect to you. And step one goes by show me the magic. And Cass,
Step
just
one.
a little bit about being present and exploring our own magic before we close the call.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And, you know, see what shows up for you because that first step, we'll talk about that now. We can play with another step later. But see what shows up for you when you're not only listening to what someone says, you're hearing energetically what they say. And so I just get a, how does it show up for you? So step one, show me the magic. Yeah, it's so interesting. Do you want me to read?
You can, why not? That I would definitely want you to share how it all went down when you were looking at polar bears.
The polar bears, yes. Well, I had been chasing behind this being present thing for years, trying to figure it out, get a grip on it, experience it, define it, right? Ascertain whether I was really doing it or not. So finally, one summer, I decided to go take the situation into my own hands. And I took a month off, right? So I was in living in New York. I went for um, a month to Martha's Vineyard. And, we sometimes have to do something in a structured way. So I got a small room near the beach, a beat up bicycle instead of a lovely large room and a lovely bicycle, a beat up bicycle. And I decided I was going to learn how to simply be present. And every morning at dawn, right, I would ride my rickety, decrepit bike down the streets of Oak Bluffs to the beach at the Inkwell, right? And that's an island north of Massachusetts in the United States. It's amazing. And I was just there, yeah, this weekend as well. And there, right, is where I would meet the polar bears, a group of seniors who swam there every morning. I would swim with them at dawn, right, in the ocean, communing, with the fish at sunrise. It was really beautiful. It is always beautiful. And I did that also this year. When the polar bears left, because then they leave, I would get down to the business of being present. These being present exercises started with reading different books to find the right mantra for that day of the week, the right way to arrange the crystals, right, that I had on on the beach with me for that phase of the moon and the best direction to face, right, in order to meditate effectively at that latitude. I did this routine for weeks. And when I finally got back home to New York and looked over my trip, I realized that the moment I was truly being present with me and being in communion with all things was when I was riding to the ocean each morning, singing with the birds, swimming with the fish, and laughing with the polar bears, right? I spent the whole summer looking for me, and I was right there all along. All that time looking for the magic, and all along it was right there with me. So, what is it that you do that gets you in touch with you? And a lot of times, what we think is that we have to do it in a certain way, you know? And that's step number two. And we will be talking about that in the 7 weeks. We'll do one day, the first step, and we will share some invitations for you throughout that week to be able to approach you and your magic and connect with you and your uniqueness in a very different way. And then the next week, same day, we will just spend a couple of minutes seeing if you have any questions, any like would like to share any ways that your uniqueness actually showed up for you. Because like I was saying, it was unique coming and going there to the, to the ocean. And then I thought I had to do something, and even as we say in Texas, you don't have to do you. You have to be you, and you can and will change the world. Yeah. Like Dr. Dane says. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And as I flipped through the book as you were reading, first of all, it was so like my heart is pumping like even more faster right now. So much of goosebumpy feeling where like you were reading it and to hear it right, it is just that you were writing it. You're sitting there and writing it. I could like be there with you. It's such an amazing feeling to have an author read their own book. Like I've been to book readings, but this one is
Yes,
my favorite. Not saying this
absolutely.
up here, but definitely this was so present in my universe. And like I said, so I did write something, and like she mentioned that write it in the book, and I'm somebody who's like, I don't want to write in my book. I want to keep my book nice and prim and proper. And then at one day I gave in, and I still wrote with a pencil, to keep it nice and neat and not pen. And the question was, what is it that you do that gets you in touch with you? And that day I actually wrote, and I'm going to read what I wrote. And it's like very personal to me, but today I feel like sharing. So I wrote writing, especially about my feelings and my day, which I did mention earlier that I used to write. And then it dawned upon me that it's now I do it not by having the journal and write sitting and writing every day. That is how it's preached, wake up 5 a.m., do a workout, then write your journal, then meditate. And I cannot do that. One day, 10 day, like I can do it. I mean, if I put myself into it, but it like I think I lose being present with it. I'm just doing it for so I write my Instagram stories or my Instagram posts like when I have this whole thing together, putting that whole thing together and writing it that, and that gets me in touch with me. So no matter whatever the world says, oh, social media addiction, this that you're posting too much, writing too much, but that gets in me in touch with me, like it's so me writing about something rather than just going to AI or Googling, okay, what's the favorite quote of Rumi? Let's put it in this photo and post about it. I do that too. There's nothing wrong about it. But this is what writing, what I'm feeling, what I felt while looking at the sun this morning or while I was driving and I saw horses today. So that
Lovely.
feeling, I feel like it's not about the world to know, it just connects me to me, like brings me into that present, being present. So thank you for the question, and thank you for bringing the awareness for the book. And I'm so looking forward to do it for 7 weeks and for all the sevens that are there in our lives. Uh,
Absolutely.
all the
Absolutely.
magic, all the magic, and seven is a magical number as well.
Absolutely. Step one, demonstrate your magic. Be proud to be unique. Step two, converse with your body. Listen closely when it speaks. That's the first two steps of connecting. Yes. And those connecting with you is a very brilliant way. It's
Yeah,
easy, simple, and it's quite profound. And now is the time because the universes are in alignment in this period, and the January, da 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 da. Yeah. So we will share if you want to get the book, even hear the audios, get the ebooks, we'll share the links with you. And yeah, join us. It's 7 weeks, but 1 day per week together, and the rest of those days of the week with you. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
That is
much. You can find all the information. How does it get any better than that? You can find all the information. You're here, like, right, it's showing you as up, so I'm referring it like. So
Yes, yes, yes. All right.
you can
And
hear all the information from on Instagram at the rate Kass Thomas Coaching. You can find me at Bhavna Pratish. The spelling is right here, and you will find us. I'm pretty sure, and hope to do this together with all of you.
absolutely. And whatever works for you can and will change the world. Be
And
it.
there is all the information in the chat as well. Thank you, team. So
Thank
thank you
you.
guys again. Have a beautiful afternoon and evening, and thank you everybody for joining in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ciao.